With multiplex cinemas opening out of the city center, with multiple screens, several movies playing, the variety just couldn't compete.
At the same time, a new form of entertainment was gaining the upper hand.
With the rise of television, people were staying in and just weren't going to the theater much anymore.
They could see great entertainers in their own living rooms.
In 1954, Warner Brothers sold the theater, and the coming decades would see its fortunes decline yet further.
The theater was sold to different owners, and it was really starting to fall apart.
But it wouldn't go out quietly. In 1976, a new owner bought the Variety, with a plan to reverse its fortunes. A burgeoning music scene would provide him with a much-needed revenue stream.
During the 80s, there was quite a Cleveland presence of independent labels and punk rock bands, and they actually found a home here at the Variety Theater.
Through the 80s, the theater hosted a whole series of rock concerts, bands, everything from REM to Metallica.
One of these shows would go down in music history.
One of the most infamous events was on December 2nd, 1984. And on that evening, everybody knew that Motorhead was playing here. There were at least 1,900 people on the main floor and a couple hundred people more in the balcony.
Now, this is a band that is proud of how loud they are.
That evening was no different.
The volume started out loud. It got progressively louder, louder than the management had pre-authorized and negotiated with the band, and the sound was deafening.
The band's volume reached a literally ear-splitting 130 decibels, which would have set the record as the loudest rock performance ever measured, beating a previous performance by The Who.
They played song after song at top volume, and the audience kept wanting more, so they kept playing.
But the thunderous noise of the band inside this aging theater was a recipe for disaster.
The performance was so loud that chunks of plaster started falling from the ceiling.
The plaster began raining down on the audience. As you know, the theater was not designed for heavy metal music. So the maintenance man sees the plaster falling, and at that moment, he doesn't know if it's just superficial plaster falling. Is it a structural problem? Does he have to get this crowd out of here?
He tried to get the band to turn down, to no avail.
They were loud, they were proud, they were gonna be as loud as they could. And it finally got so bad that he went and he just pulled the breaker and shut the whole thing down.
The damage to the ceiling was, in fact, only superficial. But the fallout wasn't over yet. Incensed by the noise, local residents took action.
The theater, this rear wall where we're standing right here, abuts right against a residential district. So it's a densely populated neighborhood here. And the neighbors could hear the band. They also found out later about the falling plaster.
They began to complain, file lawsuits, and eventually the theater had to stop hosting rock shows.
One of the neighbors actually recorded one of the concerts from their house. And it was so loud that they could listen to every word and every beat that was going on. And they used that recording as a tool to go to court to shut the whole thing down.
Struggling to survive without the income from live music, the theater limped on until closing as an entertainment venue in 1990. Today, Thanks to a dedicated group of local campaigners, the future looks bright for the Variety Theatre.
They're really enthusiastic about saving this building that was once so beautiful and making it really at the heart of a rebirth of this neighborhood.
With modern technology and sound attenuation measures, the theater can now be restored for live music and without upsetting our neighbors.